All right, so we're continuing on with equations, and we're going to talk about what happens when you have variables on both sides of your equation. They're on the left side and they're on the right side. Now, the goal has not changed. Okay, the goal remains the same. You're still trying to solve this equation, meaning you have to get the variables, or the variable in this case, to one side of your equation. Okay. Now, I've said it before in previous videos. The math itself is not getting more challenging. There's just more steps to it. Okay. So we're just kind of adding on to what we've been doing previously, but it's not necessarily any more challenging than what we've done. Okay. So for example, if I were to give you an equation, it would look like this: 10 minus 4x equals 6x. Again, I still recommend that you guys draw that line down where the equal sign is. That way you can clearly see like left side and right side, okay? Now, when you have variables on both sides, we have negative 4x and 6x, okay? Um, the tip I want you guys to write down is we do need to get them to one side, meaning we have to move one of them. Technically, it doesn't really matter which one you move, but kind of a nice rule to go by is I always tend to move the smaller of the two variables. Okay, so move the smaller variable. Okay, and again, there are exceptions to this. Like sometimes it's easier just to move the bigger one, but I would say for the most part, um, it's usually easier to move the smaller one. Okay, so in this example, you have negative 4x and you have positive 6x. So in this question, the smaller of those two is the negative 4x. So let's say we move that. Okay, so opposite of a negative 4x would be positive 4x. Okay, whatever you do to one side, do to the other, and make sure that you're lining up. Remember, x terms go with x terms. What that does, what this does is the negative 4x and the 4x will cancel each other out. And then we're just left with 10 on the left side. On the right, 6x plus 4x gives us 10x. Now we're back down to a one-step equation, which everyone can do, right? Get rid of the 10 by dividing. Okay, 10's cancel out, and we get the answer of x is equal to 1. And we're done. Okay, so that's the only new thing, is that if you have variables on both sides of your equation, you will need to move them to one side before you can do anything else. Okay, let's try a little bit more complicated of a question. Let's say I give you the equation 9x minus 12 equals 7x plus 14. Okay, now this equation has variables and numbers on both sides. Okay, so we have to kind of organize things. But the idea is to get the variables to one side, numbers to the other side. Now, if you follow the tip that I mentioned, I always move the smaller of the two x's. And I would start it off with x's to make things easy. So you have 9x and you have 7x. So the 7x is the smaller number. So let's say we decide to move that. Opposite of a positive 7x would be negative 7x. Okay? Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. Make sure you line up x's underneath x's. So you would put that negative 7 right here. Okay? Again, staying organized is very key to answering these questions, especially as they get more and more complicated. So what happens is that these 7x's on the right cancel each other out. So we only have that 14. On the left side, 9x minus 7x gives you 2x. And we still haven't dealt with that negative 12 yet. So I'm just going to bring that down. Now that we've decided that the x's are on the left-hand side, that means all the numbers have to move to the right-hand side. So now I have to get rid of that 12. Okay, so inverse of a negative 12 would be positive 12. Again, whatever you do to one side, do to both. And a 0 pair. And bring down the leftovers. So we have 2x, and 14 plus 12 gives you 26. And then last step, you have to get rid of that 2, so divide. So x is equal to 13. So again, the individual steps are not getting more challenging. The only thing that's changing from like previous videos and previous assignments is the equation looks a little bit longer, okay, and it has more steps to it. But if you stay organized and follow the same rules that we've been using, they're not necessarily more difficult, okay? All right, I want you to try one on your own, and then we'll be done. All right, the question I would like you to try is negative 9x plus 18 equals 4x minus 60. All right, again, I do want you guys to try it on your own. So go ahead and pause the video at this point, and then once you're ready to check your answer, go ahead and press play. All right, so hopefully you had a chance to try it. Now in this question, of the two x's, negative 9 is actually smaller than the 4x. So that's the one that I'm going to choose to move. You can move the other one as well, but I just think the smaller one is probably a little bit easier. And again, if you need to use a calculator, don't be afraid. It's perfectly acceptable.